A police dog barked desperately at the pilot, refusing to let him board the plane. Captain Harris paused, his hand still on the door handle of the plane. As Max's barking grew increasingly frantic, passengers nearby turned their heads, eyes wide with curiosity. But there was a growing sense of unease in the air. More importantly, what was the dog trying to tell them from a few feet away? Sergeant Allen tensed. He'd worked with Max for years, and he knew this wasn't random. Sergeant Allen's face remained neutral, but his eyes darted to his partner, Officer Thompson, signaling that something was off. Max wasn't just reacting to the usual smells or sounds. His body was tense, his focus locked solely on Captain Harris. The barking didn't stop. It was as if Max was trying to communicate something urgent. "Max, calm down," Sergeant Allen muttered under his breath, trying to regain control of his dog. But Max didn't listen. His eyes narrowed, his stance becoming more rigid. The dog wasn't backing down. Captain Harris stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what was happening. "Is everything all right with the dog?" he asked, a nervous chuckle escaping his lips, though there was an edge of discomfort in his voice. But the officer's response wasn't what he expected. "Sorry, sir, something's not right," Officer Thompson said, his tone serious. The dog was refusing to let Harris move any closer to the plane, and for the first time, Harris began to feel that strange chill creeping up his spine. Sergeant Allen exchanged a quick look with Officer Thompson. Something was off, and they couldn't ignore it any longer. "Max, enough," he commanded, his voice firm. But the German Shepherd wouldn't relent. The dog's eyes were locked on Captain Harris. The crowd around them had begun to murmur, some passengers glancing nervously between the dog and the pilot. It was clear that whatever was going on, it wasn't normal. "All right, sir," Sergeant Allen said, turning to Captain Harris. "We need to take a look at your things. Just a routine check. Please cooperate." The pilot, still taken aback, nodded, though confusion still clouded his face. Officers began to go through the captain's carry-on bag, sifting through his clothes and personal items. They moved quickly but carefully, not wanting to make a scene, yet every second felt tense, as if time itself was slowing down. Max's barking had subsided, but the dog still wasn't letting up, his gaze fixed on Harris. He was no longer barking, but the low growls had replaced them, a constant reminder that something was wrong. "Why is he acting like this?" Captain Harris asked, a hint of panic creeping into his voice. "I've flown countless times. This is ridiculous." But his words barely registered. Sergeant Allen was too focused on the situation at hand. The dog was trying to tell them something. But what? Officer Thompson stepped back, his face troubled. "There's nothing unusual in his bag, Sergeant. No drugs, no explosives, nothing." The air seemed to thicken with uncertainty. Whatever Max was sensing wasn't something visible or easily detected, but the dog's instincts never lied. They had to keep searching as the officers continued to search Captain Harris's belongings. The tension in the air grew thicker with every passing second. Max, still not backing down, began pacing in small, tight circles. Occasionally, whining softly, his eyes never left the pilot. Something had to be there. Something only Max could sense. Sergeant Allen's frustration began to show. "We've checked everything. There's nothing here that explains the dog's behavior." But even as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that Max was trying to tell them something deeper, something they hadn't yet discovered. And then it happened. Officer Thompson, who had been quietly examining the pilot's jacket, froze. His hands trembled as he slowly pulled a small folded piece of fabric from the inside lining of Harris's jacket. The fabric was thick and oily, with a faint, unfamiliar scent. Thompson's eyes widened. He turned to Sergeant Allen, his voice low and urgent. "Sergeant, I think we've got something." Sergeant Allen's heart raced as he stepped forward, his eyes scanning the object. It wasn't just any fabric. It was a strange pouch concealed deep within the jacket. But what was it holding? Thompson carefully unfolded the pouch, revealing a small metallic object wrapped in layers of cloth. It looked like an old rusted tool or device, something that didn't belong in the hands of a civilian, much less a pilot. Max Sergeant Allen said, his voice trembling. "Is this what you've been sensing?" Max's ears perked up immediately. His gaze shifted from Harris to the pouch and he began to bark again. But this time, it was different. There was a sense of urgency, as if the dog knew just how dangerous this discovery was. "Captain Harris." His face pale stepped back. "I swear, I don't know what that is. I've never seen it before." His voice cracked with panic, but the officers were already processing the situation. The pouch. Something that shouldn't have been allowed on a plane. It was as if Max had detected a hidden threat, something deadly, long before the officers could find it. The air around them felt charged, like every breath they took carried the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. Officer Thompson carefully examined the object, his brow furrowed in confusion. This looks like an old detonator," he muttered under his breath. His eyes flicked from the object to the pilot who stood frozen in place. "Sir, can you explain this?" Captain Harris's face drained of color as he took a step back, his hands trembling. "I don't know how it got there," he repeated, his voice weak, almost pleading. "I've never seen it before. I've been flying for years. I would never." But his protest fell on deaf ears. Sergeant Allen's mind was racing. The pouch looked like a detonator, possibly for a bomb, but there were no immediate signs of any explosives, yet the device seemed too dangerous to be ignored. Had it been planted on Harris without his knowledge? If so, who had done it? And why Max's eyes remained locked on the pouch, his posture still rigid with the tension of a threat detected. It was as if the dog knew that every second mattered, that something far greater was at stake than a simple misunderstanding. "We need to get this to the bomb squad," Sergeant Allen said, his voice firm now. "There's more to this than meets the eye." Harris, now shaken to the core, could only nod. He was caught in something much larger than himself, a situation he never asked for, but one that might cost him everything. As the officers moved quickly, the bomb squad was already on its way to the scene. The tension in the air was palpable. Passengers were ushered away from the gate, the sound of their hurried footsteps echoing through the terminal. Captain Harris, still in shock, was taken to a secure area by the officers. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, none of which made any sense. How could he be involved in something like this? He had been flying for years, without incident, always following protocol. Sergeant Allen and Officer Thompson watched carefully as the bomb squad arrived. Their calm demeanor contrasted with the chaos surrounding them. But it was clear that everyone was focused on one thing, solving the mystery, before it was too late. As the bomb squad expertly examined the device, a strange sense of relief washed over Sergeant Allen. It wasn't a bomb, at least not in the traditional sense. It was a decoy, a device that looked dangerous but lacked the necessary components to actually cause harm. The metal was old, rusted, and had been deliberately designed to resemble something far more sinister than it truly was. But who would go through the trouble of planning such a thing on a pilot? "And why Captain Harris?" Sergeant Allen said, as he approached him again, his voice steady, though his mind was still spinning. "It seems you were framed. Someone wanted us to think this was much worse than it really is." Harris's eyes widened in disbelief. "Framed, but why me?" That was the question no one could answer. Not yet, but the more they investigated, the closer they would come to uncovering the full story. And one thing was clear. Max had sensed the deception long before anyone else. As the investigation deepened, the truth finally began to emerge. The bomb squad discovered hidden surveillance,